Hi everyone, going a little raw here, just testing out my computer camera. I gotta run out in a few minutes and didn't have time to set up my proper camera. I'm gonna talk about a couple of subjects here. I taught a class earlier today and some of the things we were working on with my students gave me a few ideas that I haven't necessarily clarified in these talking videos yet. So bear with me, I'll jump around a little bit from subject to subject, but I think this will be an interesting topic. So what I wanted to talk about are the two modes for your hand balancing training. When a student begins their balancing journey, as an adult primarily, a student wants to understand how the tiniest things work. You know, how do I put my hands on the ground? Where are my fingers? Where should my weight be? Where should I look? What are my shoulders doing? What are my elbows doing? When you're a younger person, you don't really think about that. You just kind of go at it. I know I did. And it was a lot of fun. But again, as an adult, the approach is slightly different. The intellectual mode is when we are using our thinking mind, when we're trying to break things down and identify them and, you know, logically determine how they work together. Autopilot is sum total of accumulated muscle memory that you acquire after days, weeks, months, years of training. Why did I want to talk about autopilot and the intellectual approach? Well, because, for example, let's say you work on weight shifts from two hands to one arm, right? You want to practice one arm. So you go to two-arm handstand, 5 fingers, 1 finger, let go, trying to hold one arm. While you're fresh, you can rely on autopilot, because if you're practicing consistently, your muscles will work in concert with your mind to produce a specific result. When you get tired, your muscles are firing in a very different way. You can still achieve the intended result, but you're going to have to work a little more. And so this is when the intellectual approach comes back in. Think about what you do and how you're supposed to do it before you go on your hands. So what are the key principles of this control mechanism for one arms? Okay, enter a handstand in a solid way. I got to place my weight in the correct spot in my hands. I have to make sure that my legs are not doing their own thing, flopping around. I got to shift my weight, engage my shoulder, engage my hip, and then once I lift to 5 fingers, you know, I have to already balance pretty much by the time I let go. Even before I let go, I already need to balance with my hand as if I'm doing a one arm in order to come close to succeeding at it. The more successful you are at exercising this intellectual/mental capacity to set yourself, to prepare yourself before you go on your hands, the more you understand exactly what it takes, the more you deposit in your body, in your muscles, the more you deposit the correct patterns that the body can work through, so that when you come back tomorrow or next week, your body has a lot to work with, you know, because then when you're fresh, you go into doing the same drill, your body will already have, you know, it's like a program. It's like an upgrade, iOS upgrade that your body can refer to, and it will take less effort and it'll take less struggle on your part, and suddenly you're making progress. So keep that in mind when you train, and I believe that's a great measure and an instrument and a tool for reaching a consistent rate of progress in your training. Another thought that I wanted to share when it comes to one-arm training is this. Technique is extremely important, and I know this sounds like a cliche, and you're probably you're rolling your eyes right now. Okay, tell me something new. Well, hopefully this will be something new. But the reason why I wanted to mention that is because a lot of the times we are more concerned with the control, with the ability to control, with the effort that we produce in order to control our one-arm position, rather than the technique. We often lose the point of creating favorable conditions for control of the position. Control, the balance, the ability to balance is a symptom of the alignment in your position. Therefore, if we don't have alignment in the body, no matter how hard we work, no matter how much strength we exert, it's not going to work. It's not going to be consistent. So if you want to improve at your one-arm handstand, I would suggest making sure that your weight transfer is smooth, that your position is as symmetrical as it can be, and that you are as present as possible, and that your reaction timing is on point. Because then your hands will have a much easier time working with the correct position. You know, instead of focusing fully only on your wrist, forgetting what your legs are doing, forgetting what your torso is doing, forgetting about your hips, forgetting about your shoulders, you know, trying to either relying on luck or relying on too much effort. None of those things are going to work the way you want to. So we need the second half, which is the rest of the body that we cannot see. When you are fresh and you're starting your handstand set, you go into a handstand, you are what I call standing rather than hanging in a handstand. We resort to hanging when we sense danger, so to speak. When we sense that we're losing balance, our body creates additional angles and the gravity begins to gradually work on us. So we try to minimize all the movement in the body by relaxing many body parts, legs primarily, and relying on as little movement as possible, meaning we're trying not to fall instead of making sure that we control, that we are in charge. You know what I mean? There's a difference. Hoping and trying not to fall and controlling it confidently, doing it with confidence. That's a huge difference. So basically, you want to make sure that you, again, exercise the right technique so that you don't resort to extra measures in order to stay on your hands. Pay attention, make sure that your symmetry is in place, make sure that you're standing, meaning you're pushing away from the floor, your body is engaged, your torso is tense, everything is engaged, and that doesn't mean that you have to spend all of your energy on crazy muscle tension. I don't mean that at all. With time, you will only need a certain amount of tension in order to keep things in place. But initially, I encourage my student to tense their muscles in order to get into a habit of turning body into a sort of a board, right? And within that board, within that hard shell, internally, there's the movement that helps us balance. So while you may look like you're completely still, there's an internal movement that helps you regulate your position. But if your external body, right, if the surface of your body is soft, it's not engaged, there isn't a synchronicity of readjustments and balancing within your body parts, it's in disarray. Therefore, no matter what you do with your hands, or no matter how much you want to control it, it's gonna be like walking in the dark, in the forest. You know, you might bump into a tree or two, or you might stumble on something and find yourself on the ground, relatively speaking. So that is what I wanted to express today. I hope it helps, and I'll see you next time.